Hello and welcome to this new episode of Open Book Entrepreneur. Today we have Scott here with us. He's an amazing guy, and then also he's got like amazing story, and he's got this really amazing things that he's doing for his clients. So, Scott, please introduce yourself and your business into our audience for our audience. Thanks.
Thanks, Tony. I appreciate one. I'm in North Carolina, so I'm really early in the day. You're over in Germany, so I'm glad we could meet up that way. That's been great. Name is Scott Burgess. I own a company called Balanced Naturopathics. You can go to balancednaturopathics.com, or you can just use my name, scotteburgess.com, if you want to check things out. What I do in a nutshell is I take someone from not feeling well to feeling amazing, and we do it so well, so strategically. We do it in less than 30 days. For the most part, regardless of whatever you've been led to believe as a diagnosis or whatever condition. And I know we were just talking about your friend who I've never met before, and they were talking about how their eyes were kind of bleeding, but you had all that redness. And the two simple steps I would do right there alone, because my goal for any podcast that I'm on is that someone can take real information in real time, and as soon as they're done listening, apply it to their life and have an immediate change. And that's what my goal is all the time for my clients. So in less than 30 days, if you're going through something, we have, and I don't like using the word protocol, but we have a guide or a path that you can follow that will really move the needle for you health-wise to get you from where you are to where you want to be. And that's it. Because the mind can't be clear if the body's not well. And the reason for that is because the body has to protect the brain and the gut at all costs, as well as the heart in the middle. Because if the brain and the heart are not protected, we don't survive.
Exactly. Yeah, that's true, unfortunately. But then also on top of that, obviously, when we were in the green room, we were talking about some of the things that you do to help people and to show them actually some of the side effects that are not always shown
Yeah.
on some of the drugs. So yeah, can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
So I developed the world's first nutrient depletion analyzer, and it's through an app called MyDeficiencies. Now, presently, right now, it's only on iOS. Now, what I had done, because we have to develop a Google version and a Linux version, and there's a lot of connecting or what we call API in the coding world, I integrated and I embedded that application onto my website. So if someone wants to go to balancednaturopathics.com and then go to the section called free app and then web portal, you can access it there as well. The design and structure is simple. If or when you've ever visited your doctor and they, one, suggested and then prescribed you a medication without telling you what the long-term side effects are, or the nutrient depletions that will happen as a result of ingesting that medication, this is what the app is for. The app is the first app that delivers transparency around medications. For example, let's say we were talking about Trazodone. A lot of people here in the United States use Trazodone. They use it as a sleeping aid. Now, Trazodone is awful for glutathione. It wipes it out across the body. Now, most people think that glutathione is a master antioxidant for the body. It's not. It's a master antioxidant for the cell. The master antioxidant for the entire body is copper. But that means at a cellular level, the cell is not protected, which means it becomes dehydrated. Because that Trazodone over time, and this is a mathematical equation at this point, if you take Trazodone on day one, and Trazodone in the United States is a long-term prescribed medication, then at month one, month two, year one, year two, and you keep losing the glutathione over time because it's depleting it. Now, most people will just go, well, I'll just ingest a synthetic or a different pill of glutathione, and that will, I have one wiping it out, but I'm ingesting it, so it should balance itself off. It doesn't work that way because the body, when you eat food, properly breaks it down and then delivers into the bloodstream, into the cells, into the areas of the body that it's required. Now, here's the really sticky part. And when I say sticky, this is something that a lot of people do not understand. In the United States, and I know in the green room, we talked about how it is over where you are as well, over in Europe, the regulations and the transparency around nutrient depletions around drugs is not spoken about. Now, in the regulations, it talks about that. We'll pick on Trazodone. Trazodone, we know that if you ingest that short-term or long-term, that it wipes out glutathione in the body. Well, if A drug company was then to have, well, we'll just add glutathione to the prescription model. Well, as soon as that happens, that trazodone and glutathione both become drugs. They can't do that because everyone's going to have a different response to what they're ingesting. That's why we have some people who have a okay response, not as much. Some people have more of a dire response. And the drug companies go, we don't want to do that. So that's why they separated and created a drug path and a supplementation path. Now, the other part of the equation is that the supplementation is mass manufactured in drums. It's all synthetic. The body doesn't know how to register, use, and then evacuate it from the body. So now you get all that information, trazodone and glutathione, and you can now type in trazodone, comma, space, glutathione, because it's going to assume that it's synthetic, enter. As soon as you hit enter, all the information comes up. And the best part about everything with the application, we made it really, really simple for someone to use. All they have to do is type in the medication. If it's multiple medications, it's comma space. So you have a nice string of words that are there. And then it provides you all of the peer-reviewed science, citations, and where the data is coming from. Because someone could very easily go like this, Tony. They could say, well, how do we know it's not all made up? And I said, well, that's a great question. Let's add the citations there. So when we coded the application, we made sure that it was sourced from PubMed, NIH, Hippocrates, and all the different drug interaction checkers, all the different sources that are required at this level over here in the States. And that's how we put it together. So that way people now have true transparency around their drugs and the nutrient depletions that are happening. So now instead of agreeing to, okay, well, my doctor, he suggested and he gave me a script to take this trazodone, but I really don't know if I want to do that. Either you have a conversation with the doctor, if they're on the nutrition side of things, meaning that they studied nutrition, they know how the body works nutritionally, or you can bring it to a nutritionist and say, okay, I don't want to do this. Or this is where they'll come back to me, my client, and they'll say, Scott, how do we correct this? Okay, this is what we need to do. And we'll go through step 1, 2, 3, make it real, real simple for them. So they now have an alternate path, a healthier path, versus going down this really, I would say, thin, narrow, eventually dark road of a medicated life. Because that trazodone is also going to have a physiological effect. And the best part of the application is this, Tony. This is where I love it. When I put on there, we confirm the inputs, which is the medications or the synthetics. Then we give you a summary of all the depletions for the individual medication or the multiple inputs, synthetics or other medications that are there. Then we give you a summary of all the depletions that are there. And then we start off with the functional impact score. The application is going to show you in real time what you will feel as a result of ingesting that medication long term. Then we have a gut microbiome score. It's going to show you how the gut dysbiosis is going to start and how it's going to start to behave in long term as far as what is going to happen to your digestive tract. Then we have a mitochondrial score, meaning how much energy is going to deplete from your body. And then an oxygen ATP score, and we keep going down and going down. So the application is going to show how everything interacts together as well. Because the problem is this across the world, in my opinion, based on what I'm hearing, seeing, and then experiencing from people, what they're telling me, is that we've segregated health so much. You need to see a cardiologist, your neurologist, your interventionologist, and they're all separated. And a lot of them are not playing together in the same conversation. This application took all that separation and smashed it together in your pocket at will. And the best part, it's free. I did it. I paid for everything myself. So there's zero corporate business or integration with any outside manipulative source that could say, well, can you make it say this? It's true, constant information that is based on peer-reviewed science, citations, and API information that we've known for a long time.
Wow. So how people can access this application?
So they can access through the My Deficiencies app through the iOS store. It's available. I did open it up to the UK as well as Europe. And they can also go to my website, balancednaturopathics.com. And if they click on the free app on the nav bar up top, and then then it'll open up to a new window and it'll say web portal. Click on web portal and it's right there for free.
Okay, excellent. So you mentioned it's available also on iOS store and your website, and I can share the link in the description of this episode. Anyone watching us
Yeah,
can
absolutely.
actually check that out, and the link will be there. So that's great. Now, in terms of obviously your personal your personal motivation, why are you doing this? Can you tell us a little bit more about that, please?
Yeah, great question. And I appreciate the chance to talk about this. I have been in healthcare in the United States for over 2 decades. I have been designing and then implementing patient towers, hybrid operating rooms, intensive care units, every clinical space inside of a healthcare building for over 2 decades. I work with engineers, architects, surgeons, physicians, your PSP or your PCPs, excuse me, administrators, organizing these spaces to make sure that people have what they need. Here's what I noticed. Most people, it will never happen to me. Oh, I'll be fine. And that's how they think.
Mm-hmm.
And they're not paying attention to the food labels. They become stressed and they just keep stuffing things down or stuffing things into a box. And eventually they need those services.
Mm-hmm.
What happens when you go to a hospital is this. They're there. Thank God we have them. I'm not here to bash hospitals. Thank God we have them, because when we need that level of service and attention, we have somewhere to go, thankfully. But getting to that point is all avoidable. And once you're in that healthcare system and you start going down the medication trap, or you start going down the labeled diagnoses trap, and that's a really important distinction there. Because, oh, you have this, oh, you have this. That's all aligned with what we call a CBD-10 code. And that code is aligned to a payment wall. That's it. So now that is directly wired, and I like playing around with this one, wired to your wallet. And you can't cut a wire with a pair of scissors. You need wire cutters. And it's really hard to get out of the system once you're in it. Because I'll use a direct example, because I work a lot with women who've been told that their thyroid is either hypo, underfunctioning, or hyper, overfunctioning.
This is
Happens
happening
everywhere.
so much. This is happening so
Everywhere,
much. Yeah.
right? Well, it must be the water, or we don't have enough selenium, or we don't have enough, whatever it is, okay? Well, what ends up happening with those medications that are typically suggested, 1, and 2 prescribed, because that's how it goes all the time. Well, we think we should do this. What's that? This medication. These people, they don't understand, most of them don't understand of what other questions they should be asking, not to go on that medication. Now, here's something, I don't want to use a confusing term, so I'm going to say what it is, and I'm going to describe what it is at the same time. But genomic forecasting is a model that the insurance companies and people in that world know that once you start taking a medication, they know the path that it would lead down over time if you keep ingesting long-term, because any kind of a thyroid medication is a long-term prescribed medication.
For life, basically, yeah.
For life, yeah. So they know that you start taking it here, that eventually long-term, 1 year, 2 years, 5 years, is going to lead to additional issues within the body. Now, typically with like a levothyroxine, for a moment, if you looked at that genomic model or that forecast of what's going to happen to the body over time, around 3.5 to 4.5 years, the woman will become insulin resistance. Well, what do we call insulin resistance? Diabetes.
Diabetes.
Right? So now we have someone who had a under or over functioning thyroid. I don't want to pick on one side. Then it eventually leads to a diabetic issue. And then all of a sudden we have to start balancing bacterium. We have to start balancing sugars, and the energy is always low. Either they're really, really hot or they're really, really cold. And then eventually what ends up happening is if you don't use it, you lose it. Well, the same thing happens with medications, that if you do use it, you still lose it. And it's a really important distinction to understand. Those medications will shut down the natural function of that organ or that body part. And again, I'm just keeping things very, very vanilla and simple. And then you need those drugs for your body to start performing well over time because you lost the ability on your own for it to function. So what we'll do in there is we'll say, okay, instead of doing this, let's unload all the excess iron or the excess toxins or the bacterium that's in your gut that you do not know how to evacuate because the body's inflamed. So we get rid of inflammation. We then focus on hydration at a cellular level. And then at that result is all of a sudden they go, well, wow, I feel better. I'm not thirsty all the time. I'm not dehydrated anymore. And it happened really, really quick. And that's my promise to everybody is I know how to do it. I know how to do it really, really well, fast, where they can get a result. Because now what we had done with the My Deficiencies app is most people, like we're talking ahead of time, my biggest challenge personally as a practitioner is that, well, how do I know you're telling me the truth? Because this guy over here told me something and it didn't work, or that person, there's so much information. And here's the problem. Information overload is the leading reason now to why people, one, do not trust, and two, why they are digging themselves deeper in their own hole. Mm-hmm. Take 5 of these, take 2 of those, take this instead, do this every morning, do these 3 things. Those are nothing more than social media hooks to keep you paying attention. So you then have this rapport or trust built on a screen versus having a real conversation with the person. And that's the biggest challenge because all those things, not saying that they will not work, but imagine it this way. Imagine you moved every day where you removed inflammation naturally. You ate a complete, like hydration focused food plan throughout your life. Would you ever really need to do those 5 things or 2 things? The answer is no. Okay, yeah, but I'm really, really busy. Well, okay, here's the result then. Either you're gonna, if you don't pay attention to it now, you're going to pay for it in the hospital. So going back to your question about what I had done for 20 years, this is what I noticed. If you're not paying attention, you're in that system, and then you're probably going to be in it for life unless you make a drastic change, lifestyle change. And it's all avoidable. So that's why I put together Balance. And here's the funny part. So the other day, I had someone who was challenging me about, well, I don't know if I have the time. So I said, okay, what would it take for me to help this person to make it so stupid simple that all they need to do is follow something? I got all my information down to a text message with video clips and little just additives inside that if they followed it every day, and then they would have to check in with me every once in a while, like let's say like once a week or something like that for 15, 20 minutes. So if they followed what I gave them on a text message and then checked in with me once a week, like a 15, 20-minute conversation, just to kind of reference or answer some of the difficulties that they may be bringing on, or just to hear their success stories or whatever it may be. And someone goes, how'd you do that? So you mean you got all this information and you got it down that tight? I said, yeah, I did. So what I look to do is to move the needle so quick and so efficiently for somebody. No one wants to have to call me or anyone else or have to check in with their personal trainers or have to have this big protein macro-based meal plan. That no one wants to do that. And when they see for the women out there, when they see all these different women that are like really, really buff and their muscles are popping out like men, look, they're taking steroids. Just so you know, do not feel bad. Most of those women are taking hormone replacement therapies, and trust me, in time, that will show up long-term. There's going to be a result of that because their hormones will be so out of whack and out of balance because you cannot. God didn't mess up. He made us perfect. So when we start messing with the divine plan, guess what? We mess it up. And I have a different adjective I'd like to use for that, but it's too early in the morning for me to start swearing.
Absolutely. I mean, Scott, thank you so much for being a guest today. This is so interesting, and obviously we have these short form episodes, but I would really like to invite you, to be a guest again to talk about this.
We can talk about mushrooms, Tony. We haven't even talked about mushrooms yet and how impactful mushrooms are to the body.
Totally looking forward to that. Yeah. So everyone watching us, if you have any questions for Scott, you can drop them down in the comments. And also, if you like this episode, drop us a like, subscribe, share it with your friends and family. And Scott, did we have a chance to mention how people can get in touch with you?
We did. In the very beginning, you can go to balancednaturopathics.com or just use my name, Scott, with the middle initial E, and then burgess.com. That's where they can find the web portal for my deficiencies and everything else that I use as tools to help people every day.
Excellent. Yeah. Thank you so much for being a guest again. And anyone watching us, you can check the links in the description of the episode, as I mentioned before. And see you all in the next episode. All the best. And thanks, Scott, again. Yeah. All the best and bye bye.
You're the best, Tony. Thank you, sir.